Hello, dear all. Welcome to English Without Borders Network. And today we are very happy to see so many familiar faces and to see Lisa Mann, our speaker for today. And today is a special day for English Without Borders Network. Today we are launching the English Without Borders Idea Book, which has been a product of collaboration of so many teachers who are joining us today, and we are proudly going to present about the whole process of creation of this book. And with this purpose, let me introduce our speaker today. Lisa Mann has enjoyed a long career as a language service provider. She has taught English in a wide variety of contexts with students of different levels and with differing needs, trained the pre-service teachers and provided professional development for in-service professionals, taught translation studies at the undergraduate and graduate level, and worked as translator and courses editor. She currently lives and works in Spain, and with great pleasure, I am giving the floor to our uh, brilliant speaker, Lisa Mann. Thank you so much. And we are so happy to see all of you joining this webinar from different parts of the world. So please, Lisa, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nasiba, and hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all again. We haven't been together since we had our workshop series last spring, so I hope you had a good summer and you're ready to take a look at the idea book in its final format. For those of you who did not participate or contribute to the idea book, you're going to learn all about it today and have a look at some of its components and how you can use it and how you can create your own idea book. So let me put on my PowerPoint here. Just 1 second. Okay. So again, my name is Lisa Mann. I worked as an English language specialist 3 times in Tajikistan, my beloved Tajikistan. The last time I collaborated with English Without Borders to offer professional development to Tajik teachers and to sort of help in the background as much as I could with their organization. English Without Borders, if you don't know them, if you aren't familiar with them, is a wonderful network of English language teachers in Tajikistan who offer all of their materials and activities and support in Tajikistan to English teachers and learners and beyond. So if you're in Uzbekistan or India or Brazil, English Without Borders welcomes you to everything they have to offer. It's a wonderful organization. Okay, so let's start and talk about the idea book and what it is. So today we're going to first just find out a little bit more about what the idea book is and what it contains. We'll practice a few activities together so you can see how they are described and how the instruction works and how you could run them with your students if you're interested in doing that. We'll talk about how you might take this idea of the idea book and use it in your own teaching context with your colleagues and your textbook. And lastly, we'll hear a little feedback about this process of creating this product from a few of the contributors who took part in the workshop series and contributed ideas and activities to this book. All right, so let's start with a little poll so I can find out a little bit more about how you typically use your textbook. The idea book is a companion piece to Tajik secondary school, public school English language textbooks. So, and it came about because there was a need to complement some of the activities and lessons in those books. So I'm just curious, how often do you complement your textbook with your own activities, your own exercises that you bring from home? All right, it looks pretty good. Most of you mostly follow the textbook, skip some. Yeah. All right. All right, good. So we're about half and half. We'll give you just another minute to complete the poll if you want, so we can find out how you use your textbook. Now, there's a lot of sort of controversy about whether one should have a textbook at all, but I like to use a textbook. A textbook gives me a sequence to follow. My students have all of the information in the same place. I believe in textbooks. However, I don't think that one size fits all. And we often have to adjust and modify and add and subtract until we have the textbook and book of materials that we really want. Okay, so it looks like about half and half. Half of you mostly follow the textbook, but don't do everything. And half of you use the textbook as a general guide, but you add your own materials. And that's kind of what I expected you to say. And that's how this idea book really came about, is that the Tajik public school textbooks need a little bit of complements, right? They need a little bit more to really tailor them to the needs of our students. And so we started with that as our premise, right? So let's just talk about the need for adding materials or subtracting materials from your workbook and why we needed to create a book. Have any of you ever attended a teacher training or professional development workshop or workshop series? Just raise your hand or type yes in the chat. Probably all of you. If you're here, that means you're pretty devoted to professional development. So I think probably all of you have. Yeah, good. Yeah, I think at least all of the ones, all of the teachers who were in my workshop series, of course you have, right? And were you able to use all of the ideas you learned in the workshops or in the professional development in your classroom, or not really? And when you couldn't use all of them, or you couldn't use some of them, why were you not able to use them? Now, this is an important question. So you learn in professional development workshops, you learn in teacher training, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different activities, but only some of them are appropriate for use with your class. Peru says the time is an issue, and that's often a problem. Now, these activities take a long time, and you have a curriculum to follow. You have objectives to meet, and so sometimes you don't have time to do all of them. Yeah, good. Farouz, the curriculum doesn't allow sometimes for you to use these ideas, right? They don't fit in with what you have to do, yeah? And that's one of the reasons, that's one of the needs that came up to create this idea book, is that you have all of these, you learn all of these wonderful activities. Maybe you find them on the internet, maybe you learn about them in professional development, but when it comes to using them in your classroom, they don't quite match, they don't quite fit with what you have to do, with the textbook you must follow, right? So we're trying to find with this idea book a good fit between nice, wonderful, communicative, active ideas and the textbook that we have to follow, right? So that was part of the motivation for this product. Another issue is always the time. How many of you have extra time to look for lots of different interesting, meaningful, engaging activities? Probably not. If I know teachers, I know you. We don't have time to plan our lessons and look for interesting, engaging materials to supplement our textbook every lesson, right? Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. So this was another motivation for creating an idea book. We can share ideas with our colleagues, put them all in the same place, and then you have some place where you can go and find, I'm doing this lesson, it never works out well, let me see what my colleagues say. Maybe they have a nice idea for how to make this better. So putting everything in one place, yeah, we all look on the internet, we have a million things saved here and there, but putting everything in one place saves you time, and it makes it easier for you to create better and more creative lessons. And in some contexts, in many teaching contexts, making photocopies is not an option. How many of you can make photocopies at work, at your school? Sometimes it's just not an option. So most of the activities that we will see in the idea book do not require any extra materials, right? Sometimes when they do require extra materials, we have tried to include them. But mostly they are activities that don't require extra materials. The kids have their book, you have your book, and these are ideas. They aren't, it's not a book of exercises, it's a book of ideas. Good, I'm glad you have, Mary, you can sometimes make copies. Yeah, good Farouz, yeah. So, but Farouz, you must agree, because you were in my course, that you don't always need a piece of paper to have an excellent activity, right? You can do things on the board, you can do things with little pieces of paper. Your students can create their own materials. All right, so let's take a look at the idea book, which in its final form. I'll show you some different parts. So again, this idea book came about to complement the English language textbooks currently being used in secondary schools, secondary public schools in Tajikistan. And it was created at the end of a 15-hour workshop series with a group of about, I think Nasim, about 30 different teachers from all over, yeah, from Georgia, Brazil, from Uzbekistan, from Tajikistan. And the workshop series was a workshop presented by me, and those workshops are not yet available on the English Without Borders website, but I'll put my PowerPoints, I'll send them in and they can add them. So we had a workshop about teaching, and then the teachers met in breakout rooms and created activities that were related to that workshop. Now, the textbooks in Tajikistan at the moment are focused very heavily on reading activities and reading comprehension. So many of the workshops that we did were about how to teach reading effectively, how to do pre-reading activities, while reading activities, post-reading activities. So many of the ideas we have are about that, about how to teach reading. So let's take a look at the book itself. My teachers will know that it takes me a long time to switch screens. Okay, so here we are. This is the English Without Borders idea book, and you can see it says it's a teacher's companion book to Tajikistan public school English language textbooks. Now, although this was designed with Tajikistan in mind, these are wonderful ideas, and you can use them and adapt them and change them to use with any curriculum and any textbook. Yeah. So don't be put off by the fact that it says to go with Tajikistan books, with Tajik books, because they are ideas more than anything. Now, the book contains ideas for several lessons taken from the Tajik public school books for different grades, from grades 5 through 9. And we just have a few lessons here, but I hope that the teachers who are with us today from Tajikistan will use this as a model to continue to create idea books for themselves and their colleagues. So,
you know, I'm using them myself, Miss Mann.
Oh, good.
I'm using them for my classes, for my private classes, as a resource. Just, you know, it helps keep my brain active. I had a lot of fun and still having fun with it, you know.
Good. So here's a list of the contributors. This isn't the complete list because I had to use a different version, but there are a few more contributors, including our lovely hosts from English Without Borders, whose names aren't here. But we all worked together. They all worked in small groups and brainstormed and thought of ideas and wrote out instructions and looked for materials. An enormous amount of work was done by these wonderful contributors, these teachers, who know what it's like to need to supplement their text, who know what it's like to need to try to make their lessons more engaging for their teenagers. Okay, so let's take a look at a typical chapter here in our idea book. So this is grade 5, lessons 45 and 46, again in the Tajik public school English language books. And these lessons are on a town and a village. And all of the lessons start with the texts that the students have to read. These are the texts in their textbook. So these are where we start in the reading comprehension process. And we've copied the text into this idea book just so that you have it in your mind. Each of the lessons in this idea book then has a section on ideas for beginning the lesson with warm-ups and lead-ins. And these are super creative. They're just wonderful, really. And again, although this is pretty specific to Tajikistan, you don't have to, you know, you obviously can change it to your own context. And there are several ideas there. Then the second section is ideas for pre-teaching vocabulary. In these texts, many times there are some quite difficult vocabulary words. So we thought of different ways we could teach this vocabulary, pre-teach this vocabulary. And falling back on translation, as sort of a last recourse, so we try to demonstrate, describe, and if it's getting too complicated, well, just translate it into L1, right? There's no problem there, right? But try to pre-teach that vocabulary so that they can understand the text when they read it. There is a section on, again, pre-teaching vocabulary with checking the understanding, matching, and this is consolidating meaning. And then there's a section on ideas to use while reading the text. This section is the same for every lesson. You know, these are just different ways that you can read the text so that you don't doing it the same way every time, right? You have some different ways to read the text together with your class. Then there's a post-reading section. And when it was possible, we gave credit to the teachers who thought of these wonderful ideas. So these are comprehension questions and other post-reading activities. And they're given, when it's necessary, you're given some materials to use. For example, this one is about using photos and describing photos. So you have the two photos here. Yeah. Again, this one has lots of photos. Yeah. But you don't need, if you don't have a printer, you don't have a way to show these photos, you can also draw them or ask your students to draw them. You don't need anything fancy. Now, again, these Tajik books, they're focused on reading comprehension and pretty much only focus on reading comprehension. So we decided to think of ways to integrate more skills. Yes, so we're not only focusing on reading every single time. And so we have some reading, listening, and writing here in this lesson, reading, listening, and writing, reading and speaking, different ideas. Also, the Tajik textbooks don't contain a lot of grammar. And so we thought of ways to add grammar to the lesson, still within the same context, right? So with the same topic, but adding grammar in, right? So this was, again, the text was about a town and a village, and the grammar we decided to add here, or these teachers decided to add, was WH questions. So reviewing or reteaching or teaching for the first time, even these WH questions. And they have some different ones. Lots of different ideas from this in this first one for grade 5. The last section is ideas for adding a project. And these are projects that you could begin at the beginning of the lesson or the beginning of the unit and carry out through to the end, spending a little bit of time every day or every couple of days on it. So every lesson has that format, the text, and then some ideas for warm-ups and lead-ins, ideas for pre-teaching vocabulary, while reading, post-reading, ideas for integrating skills, ideas for grammar, and then ideas for a project. So it's wonderfully complete. There are lots of different ideas here that can be used and adapted for you to use. So let's take a look at a few of the different activities that I think are really, really cool. So this is grade 6. And this is the text that the students have in their textbook. It's called From the History of a Letter. And it's about, well, letters and the postal service and sending and writing letters. And in that text, the text talks about a post runner. And this was in ancient times. There would be a guy who would remember a message and he would run to the next village and then tell the message to the person who, to the receiver, right? So that's a pretty rich concept, right? You can imagine how that is. So this group came up with the idea of storytelling, and they have to write a story or tell a story about a post runner living in ancient times. And we have to review the good components of a story, of course, because the students will write something that isn't a story, it's just a list of sentences. But if you work on this over time, then they'll get the story format. So the story must have a conflict. For example, maybe the runner hurts his ankle and won't be able to arrive on time. Or maybe he forgets his message, or maybe he accidentally reveals a secret, for example. So this is taking something from the text that they've read and then using their imagination to expand upon it. And this is in a post-reading. Another one is for grade 7. And these are the texts that the students have in their textbooks. The History of Tajik Culture, Part 1 and Part 2. So a lot of schools, a lot of public schools have something like this, where they have the history of your country. Yeah. And this was an idea, I don't think it's, they say who had this idea, but this is a post-reading idea that I thought was really nice. So the students interview their grandparents or veterans of the war. Tajikistan had a civil war until relatively recently. And so people my age would remember that war, yeah, and they would remember, they would have very, very clear memories of the war and what happened. So they create questions, they record the interview, and they could translate key parts and put on posters and discuss the lessons learned. I like those kinds of activities where the students bring in their real story, right? Their real family and things that really happened to them and the people they know in their country. Again, this is the same one, Tajik culture. This is another idea for speaking. And this is the time machine idea. We don't say who thought of this idea, but imagine you have a time machine and you visit Tajikistan 100 years from now, and you have to talk about your experience when you return. So you have to briefly write about the future of Tajikistan, and then draw a little picture about what Tajikistan looks like in the future, and then share and mingle and share stories and pictures and ideas. Again, students really connecting their own world, which is, their life in Tajikistan, to themselves, to the future, thinking about all kinds of things. It's very, very creative. I'll show you just a few more, and then we'll try a few activities. So grade 7 has a text called Science and Technology. These red words are the words that we thought should be pre-taught, that the students would find challenging and maybe would need some help with. And in the Science and Technology for the project, these wonderful teachers had this idea to design a robot. Yeah, so students in small groups, they design a robot, they say what the robot does, they draw pictures, and then they give a presentation. And I thought this is very, very nice way to connect a very fun and creative activity to the text that they read. Text a little bit dry. So this is a way to make it a little bit more engaging. Okay, one more. This is grade 8. No, I have 2 more. This is grade 8. The text is on what causes waves. Those of you who don't know Tajikistan is landlocked, right? It doesn't have a sea. So these kids will have never seen a wave, probably. They don't know what a wave is or how waves look. So this could be a very interesting lesson for them to learn about something in the natural world while practicing their English. And one group of teachers came up with this idea, which is for learning and consolidating vocabulary. And it's just a box of synonyms and antonyms, yeah, with the word in the middle. And then the students work together to think of other words that mean more or less the same thing, and also words that mean the opposite. And they write those in different colors. So this is just a way of sort of thinking very carefully and very intensely about the vocabulary that they're learning. All right, last one. Okay, grade 9, which is the highest grade that we have here in our book, although Tajik schools go up to grade 11. This is a text on economics, and it's pretty difficult, yeah? And I wanted to share with you the project idea, which is a price comparison. Again, I like this idea because it relates the lesson to the students' real life, to their real context, to what's really happening with them. And in this project, they talk to their parents and they make a list of the things that their family buys every week. And then they go around and sort of check out different prices for different things. And they consider other factors like the distance to each shop or whatever. And they create a more price effective shopping list for their family and present it to the class. So again, taking this very sort of dry text that's quite difficult, and then making a really creative way to bring it back home, to connect it to the students' lives, to their world, to their content. These are just some of the ideas that these brilliant teachers came up with and that are included in the idea book and that you can use in your own teaching. Okay, let me go back to my PowerPoint and we'll try a few of these ideas together. Sorry. Oops. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so let's try a few activities. So this one is from grade 6. It's a lesson on animal tracks. It's kind of a weird topic for a lesson, but that's what there is. And one of the ideas for consolidating meaning of new vocabulary, and these were the vocabulary they had: tracks, hind feet, forefeet, paws, and gait, was to create a hybrid animal, right? To take two animals, or each student had to write down an animal on a piece of paper, and then they find a partner. And with the two animals that they have to try to create a new animal, right? They have to draw that animal, they have to say what that animal eats, they have to talk about its habit, where it lives, its habitat, and its tracks. How does it walk? How does it get around? In this case, does it swim or does it walk, right? So let's see if we can try this. Now, the instructions for this activity, again, are in the idea book, which is free and available on the English Without Borders website. Now, by the way, gait means how an animal walks, right? Some animals walk with 2 feet at a time, and some walk with 1 foot, 1 foot. That's called the gait. Yeah, how do they walk? Such a hard word that many adults don't know this word, right? Many very, very high level speakers don't know it. Okay, so let's try this together and we'll just type our answers in the chat so you can see how cool and creative these ideas are. So choose an animal from the first column and combine it with an animal from the second column. What is the new animal called? What does it eat? How does it move around? For example, if we combined a giraffe and a sheep, what would we call the giraffe and sheep? Giraffe sheep hybrid. A hybrid is a cross of two animals. A jeep. Rose, that's brilliant. A jeep is really good. Really good one. Good. Or a jeep, giraffe, giraffe. Any of those are excellent. Good. What? And what would the giraffe, the jeep eat? Oh, greep. Good one, Fernando. What would the greep or the jeep, what would it eat? A giraffe crossed with a sheep.
A greep would eat.
Grass, right? Probably just grass, but grass high up somewhere, maybe, depending on how you draw it, right? Because a big part of this activity was to draw the animal so that we have an idea of what it looks like. So, but probably it's a giraffe with a long neck and wool. Yeah, good. What about if we were to cross a zebra and a dog? What would that animal be called? A dog, maybe. Yes. Yeah, if we crossed a zebra and a z-dog, Rehana says, good. Or a dog. And again, dogra. That's a really nice one. Okay, so in this activity, your students are, they've been thinking about animals and different animals and the way they walk and the way they live, what they eat, how their habitat. And now they are getting to use that information in a very creative, very individual way. They work together with a partner, they're using their creativity, they're speaking English the whole time, hopefully, yeah. And really thinking outside of the box, really using some higher order thinking skills. So this one again was from grade 6. Let's take a look at a different one. In grade 8, their lessons 47 and 48 are on sound. In the other post-reading activities in the idea book, we have this activity in which students have to write a story. Yeah. So this story begins, for example, a farmer was pleased that her cow gave birth to a healthy calf. But when the calf opens its mouth to make a sound, she couldn't believe her ears. So the story has to continue from there, yeah? Or this one, we could hear the sirens from kilometers away. Something was happening, something important. And then the story has to continue from there. So how do you think this first one, what do you think your students would write? What do you think would come next? Just a brief idea of what do you think could have come out of the calf's mouth? What do you think? You can type in the chat. Maybe it comes out, the calf opens its mouth and maybe it makes human sounds or words. Right? They have to remember you're using your creativity, your imagination to make a really wild story. These stories are story stems, the beginning of stories that can be continued by the students, again, relating back to the topic of the lesson. Now, you can make this as long or as short as you want. Your students can just write a few lines. They could create a children's story, yeah, with that is in the format of a book with pictures. They could even read that children's story to other smaller children in their school. You could ask them to create their own story stems to trade with other groups. Yeah, they could vote on the best story. Yeah. Mavluda, the calf says, "Hey, mom, hello, mom." So any of these ways, again, these are from teachers, our teachers who had these ideas, and they're brilliant, I think, really nice ways to engage students and make them think a little bit and be more creative. Okay, one last one. This one is also from grade 8, and it's about sound. And this one is called Where Am I? And in this activity, the teacher starts by describing what she or he hears in a certain place. For example, I might say, I hear people talking, I hear knives and forks cutting, I hear ice in glasses, I hear people toasting, and the students would go, you're at a restaurant. And I would say, yes, that's right. So then they can get these cards, and these cards are included in the idea book, and just hand out a card to every student, and they choose one and describe to a partner what they hear in that place. So I want you to take a look and just try this. So choose in your mind one of these places and just type in the chat, what would you hear in this place? And we'll see if we can guess some of them. We might have too many answers to guess, but I'll do it too. Mary, I think you're on a farm. What do you think mine is? Anybody else have one? Type in, what do you hear in this place? see, I'll do another one since nobody's doing it. Do one more. There we go. That's the goal. I think you are at school, right? You hear the bell calling your students to class. Yeah. The sound of a tractor. Munira says, Munira, you're at a farm. So anyway, your students get their little card. They describe what they hear. Again, this is connecting the topic and of this sort of dry text to their real lives and what they really know, their own experiences. Yeah, we get these little cards to play with. By the way, these cards, you should plasticize them so you can use them again and again and again. Yeah, you don't have to keep it. All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about creating your own idea book, because it was such a rewarding experience, I think, for our teachers, and it's such a useful thing for their colleagues. Why should you do it? Well, one of the main reasons is to make your lessons more engaging for your students, and most importantly, not most importantly, but also important for yourself. Yeah, if you are teaching with your textbook and you're doing the same thing, course after course after course, group after group after group, you get bored, right? And you get burned out. It's important that your lessons are engaging and interesting for your students, yes. But it's also important that your lessons are engaging and interesting for you, yeah? Take care of yourself. Think about yourself. Do you really want to do these boring grammar exercises, or would you rather do something that your students enjoy and you enjoy, right? So it's important to think about that. Oops. You should also do it to build a community of practice with your colleagues. And community of practice is a group of colleagues who work together to help each other and support each other to achieve excellence in teaching. So if you work at a school with only a couple of English teachers, maybe think about making an idea book or getting a group of people together from more than one school in your community. Or if you have 9 teachers at your school, teachers of English, then all of you should be talking to each other, supporting each other, sharing ideas, sharing successes, but also sharing failure, because it's important to talk about this. Teachers like, oh, that lesson was terrible. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. You need to talk about these things, yeah? You need to have a group of, a community to share those things with. You should also do it to fill in the gaps in the content of your textbook to better meet your objectives. Yes, sometimes your textbook doesn't have what you need in it. You have to think of your own ways to meet your objectives. So the best way to get started is to just start thinking about your objectives. What do you want to, what are you supposed to, or do you want to achieve in each of the lessons? And you want to analyze whether the content of your textbook will allow you to achieve your objective. And if not, what's missing? Yeah, maybe there's not enough practice in speaking to achieve a speaking objective. Maybe there's not enough writing practice. Yeah, think about what you need to add. Think about the objectives and decide whether they are well-rounded in their focus. That is, they aren't all about one skill. One of the things in the Tajik textbooks is they're very heavily focused on reading, which is why in an idea book we added different skills, because reading, yes, reading's super important, I agree, but speaking and productive skills, speaking and writing, are also super important. So we want to add those to the objectives that we were given. And analyze whether the objectives are right for your learners, and if not, how they need to be adjusted. Yeah, sometimes the objectives are, and this happens all around the world, the objective is way up here, and really what these students can realistically achieve is way down here. Yeah, so maybe just think about how you can bring those more in line. Yeah, the objectives have to be achievable, and if they aren't, then you have to do something about it. All right. Talk to your colleagues and make a group. Talk about sharing resources, putting them together, because again, if I could count how many times I've looked for something that I know I use and I wasn't able to find it, if you have them all in one place and everyone has access to it, that's a way to really make use of your ideas. Yeah. Create a template. A template's just so that everyone is doing it in sort of the same way. Yeah. And in the idea book, when we did it, we had a template. We had to just say which lesson it was, what the name of the activity was, the objectives of it, the time, the materials, and the procedure, the step-by-step instructions for the activity. So create a template so that they all look the same. Otherwise, you'll get 10 different ideas in different formats, and you won't be able to use it very easily. And then just start building. Put it all in a Dropbox, in a Google Drive, put it anywhere, and just start putting it page after page after page. As long as everyone has access to it, they can all get in there and they can all see it. All right. Mary, save your question for after, and in just a few minutes we'll have question and answer, and I'd love to answer your questions. They're good ones. Okay, so Nasiba, I think we have a few contributors who may want to say something about their experience creating and using the idea book. Yeah. If anyone, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa. Like, I mean, just we can talk for hours about this book, and also just, you know, show lots of activities, how we can build around this idea book. So thank you so much. And of course, yeah, we have some contributors who would like to share their feedback. And I would like, to give the floor to Firuz to share his feedback.
Yes, thank you, Nasiba. Thank you, Lisa. Good to see you all here today. And let me start how we started. I mean, I can say that how this idea came from. As I remember when English Without Borders with Gulnora and Gulnora, when they came to Wahdat, all the teachers started complaining about the book, the Tajik book, that are very, very difficult and it's not possible to teach because it doesn't have anything. But we did some exercises with them. And the teachers saw that if they do something else except those things which is taken from the book, yeah, it would be more interesting for their students, and they could do something more, and the book will not be so difficult. Then then this idea comes when, I mean, actually when I was participated in this course, I was thinking only that we will be just doing some exercises, we'll learn some activities for this book. But it happens no, at the end it happens that it was created a really good book. Yes, and it's really useful for teachers, and it shows that it's not so difficult. I mean, to teach any kind of books, but teachers do need to do something and need to really do something extra. And because again, I will tell from my own experience, if we teach something to our students, if we will not give something extra, and I'm sure that students will not learn. If you give something else, some activities or any kind of things, I mean, the students will will get more from that.
Can I ask you, Firuz, how was the experience of creating these activities with colleagues instead of on your own? Was it easier? Was it more motivational?
It was more motivational because in one case you want to be in the same level as the teachers, and it's really good.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear.
And it's challenging, of course.
Yeah.
Because you want to show yourself, you want to do something.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Firuz. And also we kindly ask Zibunso to share her feedback briefly.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nasiba John, and thank you, Lisa, for this one, for your contribution, for helping us, for inspiring us. And I would like to tell how I, as an English resource center coordinator at Bokhtar State University, how I go and announce teachers to enroll to your course, to this intensive course. And a couple of teachers finished your first course. And when there was announcement about the second course, and I went, and it was May month, and teachers were busy creating exam materials. And I was wondering whom I can involve. And I involved three student teachers, students who are teaching already, starting teaching at school. And three student teachers and one university teacher join your course. Then of course me. And you know, when we started your course, we thought that it will be as previous one, but it was totally different. The time was, one reason was that it was 2 hours. The difference was, first, it was 2-hour course, and very interesting. When it is 2 hours, we have more time to speak. Not only listen to the speaker, also you engage us, you put us in the breakout room, which was very interesting to talk, to meet with a diverse group of English teachers from all around Tajikistan, even out of Tajikistan, abroad. And you put us in group. Yeah, I liked when you create the lesson plan or any activity on your own. It is interesting, but not so when you are in a group. When you put us in a group, you know, all of us have activities, all of us have ideas, many ideas. And when we are together, we can create, we can share with each other many ideas. And that was the most interesting part for me in breakout room. When we were together, we shared with each other. We were as a student, we were as a learner. And this part was very interesting for me. And also working with different lessons. Every time working with different teachers was also interesting. So every time we had new teachers, we were in new group, and we heard many voices, many teachers, many ideas. And
you know, Sable, I think what you're talking about now is such a valuable lesson for us as teachers, because when we put our students into groups, they have the same experience, right? I got to share my ideas with a different group of people. Everyone contributed. We all made something together. So it kind of is an imitation of what we tried to create in the classroom. Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. And we were so impatient, you know, we wanted to share, you know, we were impatient to speak in the microphone. I said, Mimi, we too, I want to share too. So we were like learners, like students. We were so impatient to share our ideas, and it was good. So now you see, when so after this, it didn't seem to me that textbooks are boring. When you create lesson on your own from this textbook, it was boring, yeah. But when you are together, we are power, like united. Together, yeah, united we are power. So you thanks to EWB that united all of us, and you also, Lisa, it is also your work. The much work was on your side. You created the Google form and put in the drive, and all this work, and collecting all our ideas, edit them, and put into a very beautiful idea book. Thank you so much.
You're
And
very welcome.
yeah, this summer my mother got EWB mini grant and $500, and she put in the budget this idea to print this book and give to the secondary school teachers. I was invited to talk, to share with two other, with Dastagul, who is also a contributor of this book. She and I together share our experience, how we did it, to other rural teachers from south part of Tajikistan, and we explained them, look how we did it, how the lesson, how you can do it, starting from warm-ups, then vocabulary, pre-teach vocabulary, and how to do while listening and or while reading and during and after all of these ideas, we explain them. I think also we have to do another whole workshop to explain this. So one day is not enough, I think. We should continue to do it. So thank you so much, Lisa.
You're very welcome,
Also,
Zabel. You are a great contributor. Thank you.
yeah, I have wonderful memory, yeah, from your session, from your webinar, and I'm not teaching now at secondary school, but I learned a lot of when teachers share the ideas. I remembered my school time really, and I have kind sweet memories. Thank you very much to all the teachers also, and for you and for EWB. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Together we power. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for sharing like good memories.
Yeah,
so and we also see Fernando, just briefly, you can also share your feedback. Thank you.
Can you hear us, Fernando?
Oh, okay, good. Fernando,
I think we lost him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
I'm sorry, but my connection is something's wrong with it. It's falling all the time. But I would just like to say that the experience was amazing, and that the work we did as a group in cooperation really helped me, not just as a teacher, but also as a person. I mean, it was a fantastic experience, Miss Mann, Miss Lisa, Miss Mann, sorry. And I'm sorry it's over. I wish it would continue for longer. All the concepts that you brought, and that's what made the big difference. Not only the concepts you use, but the way you showed us how to use online resources. I mean, it was like a double course. You know, it was like learning how to use online groups, and at the same time learning how to adapt a syllabus to adapt a syllabus to a book, to a syllabus, or make modifications to the syllabus. So it was amazing in the whole sense of the word. I really had a great time. It was one of the best workshops I've attended. Okay, to be sincere.
Thank you very much, Fernando. You were one of the great contributors.
I'm using that on my daily basis. It inspires me a lot. When I have a reading activity, I think about what you said. I try to.
Yeah. I guess Fernando's connection is not stable. Yeah. Thank you so much, Fernando. Thank you so much. And well, Lisa, we have just a couple of more minutes, so maybe we'll just briefly open the floor for questions and answers. Yeah, and then we will call out the names of all the contributors. So okay, thank you so much, dear all, for sharing your feedback. And we have several questions here. Mary is asking about what do you think do these books means Tajik textbooks that need to coincide to the age of the students and also in the fourth language for them. So it's a little bit kind of long question, and I'm not sure like if I guess the meaning of this question. Lisa, can you just read the question?
I think what she means, Mary, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you mean is that the students are grouped by grade and not by level, right? So maybe some kids in the 5th grade have a higher level than others. That just means you have a mixed level classroom, right? A multi-level classroom, which is common and hard. It's difficult to deal with. But the textbooks, the Tajik textbooks, they tend to be.
I'm back, and I'm sorry, but the connection here is really bad right now. I'm sorry. Okay.
No problem. They tend to be a little bit difficult, and many of the texts are a little bit difficult for the age of the students, yeah? And sometimes they don't maybe correspond to some of the interests that you would expect, for example, a 13-year-old kid to have. And that's where you can bring in extra things, right? And that's where you have to bring in extra things, extra activities, like the ones that we have in the idea book. No textbook is going to fit every student perfectly. It's impossible, right? But that's your job. That's our job, is to try to do what we can to make it work for the majority of our students, the majority of the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Next question, Lisa, is just personal question to you. Have you had a similar experience before? If yes, what was unique about this online training?
I have had some workshops in person. Like online is still new for me, right? Many workshops in person in which groups of people have created products. But what was interesting about this one was that all of us, the whole group, created one big product at the end, yeah? So, and this product is available and shared with all of the members, all of the contributors, and anyone who wants it. So that kind of, and that's because of the English Without Borders platform that can, has the ability to make it available to anyone who wants it, which is wonderful, right? So I have done things like this before, but not on this scale, not as big as this one turned out to be, and not as public as this one is. Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed listening to the ideas and reading them, and I was typing them out and sort of formatting it. I thought, wow, these teachers are brilliant.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa. And we would like also to celebrate all those who contributed to this book under your guidance, because without your guidance, this book wouldn't be able to be delivered finally as a product. Thank you so much. And I would kindly ask the board to share the name of all the contributors to this idea book, and let us give a big applause to all those who contributed. Lisa Mann, Abdulkhaliq Saburov, Abdullova Mehrangiz, Bahram Aliyev, Dastagul Mahmad Aliyeva, Dilafruz Rashidova, Dilpuzay Islam, Dilnoza Kholmirzoyeva, Farida Taghoyeva, Farzana Bakoyeva, Farzana Jurahon. Also, we have Fernanda Quiz, Firuz Kakroyev, Bulum Isaeva, Idibul Shambieva, Lailo Raimova, Malik Shah, Mehrangiz Khujaeva, Mehrona Khanonova, Mirzo Amir Bakoyev, Nisa Zaripova, Natya Davyatashvili, Navruza Nazarshoeva, Nazira Shamsidinova, Nigora Akilova, Nigora Nurmatova, Parvina Davlatova, Parvina Sodiqova, Rahad Akilova, Ravno Juraeva, Sabohati Islam, Shoira Kholova, Sikora Glomasenova, Zarina Mirzo, Zebniso Murodova, and the English Without Borders team, me, Noro, and Zohro. Thank you so much to all of you. Great job. We are so proud of all of you for making such a great contribution and making this idea book really effective and helpful as a guidance book for many teachers that could be used by many English teachers around the globe. And also today we heard some feedback from our participants, and please do share this book with your colleagues in your communities, in your schools. So please make this product more available to many of the teachers who are looking for teaching resources. And it makes our heart so filled with love and kindness. So we spread this kindness across the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. And I appreciate again your wonderful contributions, and I wish you luck. Yeah, and I hope I get to see you again in some kind of course or workshop in the future.
Thank you so much, dear all. And we are very happy to have all of you on board and together with English Without Borders for many years ahead. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.